as concise as possible. Yeah, please.
Thank you for your excellent presentations. My name is Dan Agustin, Agricultural Sector, Land Bank of the Philippines. And to Mr. Wolfman, are reinsurers like the Lloyd's of London or Swiss Re ready to accept this kind of innovation? Because insurance companies need reinsurers. And to Dr. Oliver Walker, thank you for that excellent, very comprehensive presentation, holistic. This would involve many sectors of government and people. Have you dovetailed any training program to make this, the adoption successful? Thank you very much.
So hopefully this is on and you can hear me. Yes, it sounds like it is. So thanks very much for raising the issue of reinsurance. So I can't speak for the reinsurers. I think the answer is yes. And the one reason why I do think it's yes is that we're actually working on a project around reinsurance regulation across different countries. And one of the issues that reinsurers always raise when they don't have access to a market because of some kind of an objective for premium retention in that country is that they're not able to share the innovation that they've developed in other countries with that country because they feel like they're not going to get the reinsurance business from that work. So my perspective is that, or at least what I've been told, is that the reinsurance sector is actually very interested in innovating and taking on new forms of risk transfer.
So thank you very much for a very good question. I mean, the very short answer is no, we haven't, and I'm not aware of a single training program. I mean, I think people in the room will know that even getting a sort of coordinated and integrated disaster risk management across government is a challenge. So I think this being an emerging field, it's a kind of another challenge to layer on top of that. But I don't think it's an insurmountable challenge either in terms of the sort of training and expertise that's required, because many of the individual solutions that are listed to create those enabling conditions are pretty well understood. I think it's a case of seeing this whole picture, understanding from what other countries is working and what kind of technologies are on the horizon and can help in the future. So. Yeah, I mean, I think it's a very good suggestion.
Thank you. My name is Vidyo from Indonesian Financial Service Authority. Yeah, short question. My question to Mr. Dr. Walker. Yeah, I'm interested in parametric insurance since Indonesia has a lot of disaster, usually a natural disaster, right? But yesterday I followed the session about the cyber crime, cyber security. Do you have experience about how cyber security or cyber crime with parametric insurance for this cyber security? Because usually cyber attack is for not a lot of institutions, right? And our government still, the parametric insurance in Indonesia is still new, because my national law usually for insurance is indemnity. It's very different with parametric. Again, do you have experience or about this cybersecurity insurance, parametric insurance for cybersecurity? Thank you.
So, Lee may want to weigh in a moment. I don't think. I mean, it's certainly a theoretical problem, particularly as we start introducing technologies to execute contracts, as well as so the whole thing becomes online, if you like, and potentially vulnerable to cyber attack. But I mean, I think it's certainly a risk that afflicts the whole financial system, as you very well mentioned. So, I don't think it's a major problem for this area.
Yeah, and I'm definitely not an expert on this, but I would say, I mean, anytime there's a way to manipulate an online system in order to profit from it, criminals will find a way to do it. In the end, and I think it actually just becomes an insurance fraud issue in many ways, right? You could imagine an excess smart contract that is somehow manipulated to pay out to the beneficiaries who have, basically manipulated that smart contract. And so it is, I don't know very much about the security of blockchain, for example. My understanding is that there is, you can build security features into it, but I don't know that the problem will actually be any greater than, in the world now in terms of insurance fraud. I don't know if that really helps, but that's my initial thought on that.
So, yeah, please. We still have five minutes or so.
Thank you very much. My name is Samuel from Nauru. Thank you for the presentation, Oliver and Lee. I only got a question for Oliver. Not that I don't understand your presentation, but you're right. But I just a few comments on your presentation regarding the financing as one of the challenges in your presentation. And most of the implication that you mentioned was caused by climate change. Climate change is effect. And I'm wondering what is the challenge or issue why your DRM cannot merge with climate change, because I understand climate change has a bigger envelope. However, most donors have merged DRM and climate change. Thank you.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sorry if my presentation didn't really go into much detail on climate change. I think we all recognise that climate risks need to be considered alongside, the baseline level of risks, and particularly when we're making long-lived investments in infrastructure and the like. So, the two are considered together for very good reasons, and I think they can be considered together in the remit of this report as well.
I think there's, if I understood the question correctly, I think there is an effort to integrate the two areas of disaster risk reduction and climate change adaptation, because when it comes to climate risks, I mean, they're very similar, they're very obvious. And so I think there is an effort, and not my area, but among international organizations and international institutions to look at these two issues together and maybe integrate some of the funding solutions that are available. But that's just an opinion, not not an intimate knowledge of the issue.
So naturally, flood risk is flood insurance is one concrete example of a product to tackle a particular issue of adaptation. And is there any products tackling sea level rise for which is a really urgent issue for Pacific Island countries?
Well, so I come from a disaster risk financing background, as I mentioned. So the way I would look at sea level rise is it's a cyclone risk, and it's a flood risk. And so the issue is not that the insurance, if you have an insurance coverage for cyclone risk, whether the sea is rising or not, the only difference is your premiums should become more expensive, or you might not be able to get insurance with climate change. And that's something that insurance companies and reinsurance companies are needing to deal with.
Yeah, please.
Hi, I'm Prashansa. I'm an actuary by training and an ILO social finance fellow working in the Philippines. From the very initial market research, we see that there's a huge demand for calamity risk insurance, but there's a clear supply side glut. What I want to know is, very short question and direct, what is the time horizon that we're looking at for having a disaster risk product in the market, especially in markets like Philippines and Indonesia?
Time horizon.
So I mean, again, I'm because I'm coming from the disaster risk side, if you're talking about a coverage for businesses or for households for climate risks or disaster risks in Indonesia and Philippines, I think it exists. You might know better than I. I mentioned the study we're doing, and actually Indonesia and Philippines are two countries that we looked at. So we did talk to a number of insurance companies in both countries, and I think they do offer that product. And my understanding actually is that the take-up, especially in the Philippines, if I remember, is actually fairly low, maybe because the cost is too high. But I don't know if that's consistent with what you understand.
Yes, that's right. Actually, there aren't too many insurance companies which are offering this in the first place. There are reinsurers who are, they've actually had an issue in the past when there was Typhoon Haiyan, if I'm right, and then the product actually got folded up. So, so there are renewed talks, but again, nothing is really moving in that direction. So,
yeah. So I think I think what it is that there is definitely insurance available, but it's probably not tailored to sort of more vulnerable segments of the population or small businesses. And I think you're absolutely right. There was an effort to devise a specific insurance product in the Philippines for that, and it hasn't moved forward. You might know more about this. No, you don't know more about this. So it isn't something that we're working on, but it is. I know that there has been talks about that. In the end, what happens is, I mean, there's only a certain capacity to pay for this kind of insurance coverage among people who have, a number of competing demands on their income, and so these kinds of schemes usually. The benefit of them is by pooling a lot of risk, as you would know as an actuary, is that the price becomes lower and it becomes more affordable, and there might be some government subsidization behind it. But as far as I know, it hasn't taken off yet in the Philippines, but it's something that has been talked about.
thank you.
I just reminded a couple of studies looking into rainfall index, parametric index insurance for the farmers in India. ICICI, Lombard, and also IFCO Tokyo. There are two products, as I remember. So this is a drought insurance. So normal year, no rainfall. Also, farmers pay premium in advance, but no payouts. And then next season, they tended to, withdraw from insurance participation because maybe from the farmer's viewpoint, this is like a risky assets. Investment or something. So I think that there are some psychological element also to, design customized products for the poor segment of the society. We still have a couple minutes, and maybe a final question we can take, please.
Good morning. I am Bong Lim from Davao City. I would like to share something about climate change. Our planet, like our body, can be compared to a wine glass. When subjected to extreme changes, it breaks. Actually, the earthquake on October 29 is something that was forewarned to me 48 hours before it happened. And I sent a note to the president about it, but I did not mention that it will be on that particular day because it falls on my 59th birthday. But unfortunately, it did strike. Now my question will be for the insurance sector. In case you have a surge of applicants for a certain policy because they got wind of something to this effect, what would you do? Thank you very much.
Well, I think it's a good question, and I mean, I suppose it probably speaks to the regulation point that both Lee and I raised at the ends of our speeches. Companies that offer these contracts on a market and enter into agreements need to be held to them, and it's their fault for mispricing insurance contracts if that's what they're doing. So I think in order to sustain public confidence in insurance markets, which is an important point just raised, we need to make sure that, you know, if something's available for sale and the company honours it. I think it's as simple as that.
Just one thing to add. I think if I worked for an insurance company, I don't. But if I worked for an insurance company, I'd probably say something like, insurance is there to deal with uncertain or unknown events. So if you have, you know, a solid early warning that an earthquake is going to occur in 48 hours, I think the insurance company would probably have some resistance to writing a coverage for you for earthquake, knowing that it's going to occur. And I think usually I don't think insurance generally works that quickly in the first place. Maybe with parametric or new technologies, it'll work quicker. But generally, insurance companies will resist insuring something. Like if there's another example would be a cyclone that's heading your way. I don't think you'll be able to get cyclone insurance the day before it's meant to hit.
Thank you very much. With that, we'd like to conclude this first session. We will have a 20 minutes or so coffee break, starting with a photo session here on the stage, in order to continue fruitful discussion over the refreshment. Please join me to thank Oliver and Lee for a really exciting presentation discussion. Thank you very much.
So let's reconvene at 10:30 here. You can go outside and take your coffee, engage in fruitful discussions, but also you're allowed to bring your coffee and food. And to all speakers and panelists, please come up to the stage. We will have a photo session now.